we are talking about unconfirmed information that points to a massive, catastrophic explosion set to rock the very foundation of the show. There is a secret agenda here, something that the writers and producers are trying very hard to keep hidden from the viewers until the very last possible second. If you ask me, they are preparing to cross a line they haven't crossed in years. It's not just about a random bomb going off to create Sweeps Week spectacle. It's about the devastating psychology of who pushes the button, who gets caught in the blast, and the horrifying realization that follows. The whispers suggest that a major set was recently built just to be completely destroyed, and the emotional fallout is going to leave a permanent scar on one of the show's biggest legacy characters. Now, let's talk about what people think is going to happen. Everyone assumes that Sonny Corinthos is simply going to handle Jen Sidwell the way he handles every other external threat that dares to enter his territory. Most viewers believe that Sonny, after discussing his legal and tactical strategy with Rick Lansing, is just going to orchestrate a classic, old-school mob shootout. The audience is practically conditioned to expect this formula. Sonny gets mad, Sonny gathers his enforcers, they track down the bad guy to a remote location, and they eliminate the threat in a hail of bullets before Sonny goes home to drink a glass of imported whiskey in his dim living room. It is the tried and true Corinthos method of problem solving. The obvious explanation seems to be that Sidwell is targeting Laura Collins or Lucas Jones, as the recent storylines and character interactions have heavily implied. Fans are absolutely convinced that Sonny is going to swoop in, guns blazing, and take Sidwell out in a heroic, albeit highly illegal, effort to protect his loved ones and his city. People think they have this storyline completely figured out from start to finish. They expect a standard alpha male showdown where the seasoned mob boss triumphs over the rogue, dangerous mercenary, restoring order to Port Charles just in time for the next big crisis to roll into town. But what if we're looking at this the wrong way? What if that wasn't the real reason Sonny has been acting so meticulously and quietly lately? Let me share the alternative story that is currently circulating in the deepest parts of the rumor mill. There is a massive behind-the-scenes possibility that Sonny decides to completely bypass the legal system, ignore Rick Lansing's cautious advice, and handle Sidwell with a level of cold, detached brutality we haven't seen from him in a very long time. Sonny doesn't want a messy shootout that leaves evidence for the PCPD to find. He wants total, undeniable erasure. According to the speculation, Sonny manages to track down Sidwell's secret hideout through a series of underground investigations, calling in old favors and piecing together leaked information from his vast network of informants. But instead of sending his men in for a traditional firefight, Sonny chooses a darker, much colder path. He orders his explosives experts to secretly rig the entire perimeter and interior of Sidwell's hideout with high-grade C4. He turns Sidwell's sanctuary into a pre-programmed, inescapable death trap. The plan is terrifyingly simple and completely hands-off. Sonny just has to stand at a safe distance in the shadows and press a single button to end the nightmare once and for all. But guys, there may be more going on here. Sidwell is not some amateur street thug who just stumbled into town. He is a highly trained, cunning operative who knows that Sonny's biggest weakness isn't his lack of firepower, his men, or his money. It is his emotions. The insider buzz suggests that Sidwell figures out the explosive trap before Sonny even arrives to spring it. And instead of running away like a coward, Sidwell decides to counterattack in the most psychological, devastating way possible. He digs into Sonny's private life and uncovers a massive, closely guarded secret that no one in Port Charles knows about. You see, rumor has it that Sonny has been keeping a hidden, deeply personal, and highly volatile relationship with ADA Justine Turner. Yes, the exact same Justine Turner who has been aggressively clashing with Harrison Chase at the PCPD over the Tracy Quartermain arrest. Sidwell discovers this hidden romance. He kidnaps Justine in the dead of night, drags her to the very hideout Sonny has rigged with explosives, and ties her up right in the absolute center of the kill zone. Sidwell essentially swaps himself out, leaving the woman Sonny secretly cares about as the ultimate tragic bait. I keep wondering whether Sonny even hesitates when he arrives at the location. The unconfirmed information suggests that he doesn't. Believing he is in total control of the chessboard and finally putting an end to the mercenary threat that has been looming over his family, Sonny stands in the darkness, looks at the silhouette of the hideout, and presses the detonator. A massive, deafening explosion rips through the night sky. Searing fire swallows the building whole, sending shockwaves through the docks and shattering windows for miles. Sonny thinks he has won. He thinks it's finally over and his family is safe. But when the smoke begins to clear and Sonny rushes into the burning rubble to confirm the kill, he doesn't find Jen Sidwell. He finds Justine. The visual is said to be absolutely gut-wrenching. She is unconscious, severely injured, and buried under the burning debris of a catastrophic decision Sonny made just seconds prior. The sheer panic, the absolute terror of realizing he just blew up, the assistant district attorney, he secretly cares about it, completely breaks him. The rumor says Sonny frantically calls 911, his voice cracking and breaking in pure, unfiltered panic as he tries to keep her bleeding body alive amidst the chaos. Sidwell is long gone, having vanished into the night before the smoke even cleared, leaving Sonny to stand entirely alone in the ashes of his own horrific mistake. Now, we have to break this down, because there are multiple ways this could actually play out on our screens. That's one possibility. But another theory is that Justine Turner wasn't just an innocent victim in this explosive scenario. What if Justine and Sidwell were actually working together from the very start? Think about it. She's an ADA with a massive amount of power and unfettered access to police files. Maybe she was feeding Sidwell information about PCPD movements, Harrison Chase's investigations, and even Sonny's own cartel activities. But when Sidwell realized Sonny was closing in with a bomb, he decided Justine was a loose end that needed tying up immediately. He left her there to take the fall. If this is true, Sonny didn't just blow up his secret lover, he blew up a double agent, which completely changes the dynamic of his guilt. He would be mourning a woman who was actively betraying him to his worst enemy. Let's pivot to another angle. What if Rick Lansing is the one pulling the strings behind the curtain? We know Rick and Sonny were actively discussing strategy regarding Sidwell's freedom. Rick has always had a complicated, deeply toxic, and incredibly jealous relationship with his brother. What if Rick deliberately leaked the location of the hideout to Sonny, knowing full well that Sidwell had already abandoned it and placed Justine inside? Rick could be using this entire explosive situation to finally destroy Sonny's empire from the inside out. By tricking Sonny into blowing up an assistant district attorney, Rick ensures that Sonny will face the full, unstoppable wrath of the state and federal government. Rick could then step in, play the devastated and supportive brother, and legally take over the entire Corinthos organization while Sonny rots in a maximum security prison for domestic terrorism. And then there is a third incredibly sinister scenario. What if the WSB is directly involved in this setup? We already know that Ross Cullum is a dirty agent working hand in hand with Jen Sidwell. We know Cullum has been cornering Carly and threatening Lulu. What if Cullum ordered Sidwell to place Justine in that building? The WSB might desperately want Sonny out of the way because his territory and shipping routes interfere with their global smuggling operations or their plans for Valentine's cold fusion prototype. By framing Sonny for the explosive murder of a high-ranking city official like Justine Turner, the WSB can legally sanction a full-scale, militarized raid on Sonny's entire organization. Cullum gets to eliminate an annoying Ada who might have been looking into his corrupt activities at the PCPD, and he gets to lock Sonny away forever, all with one single push of a button executed by Sonny himself. It is a brilliant, terrifyingly efficient tactical strike that neutralizes multiple threats at once. But guys, we have to talk about the most dangerous possibility. The one bold, haunting theory that is genuinely keeping me up at night and will stick with you long after this video ends. What if Justine Turner doesn't actually die in that explosion? What if she survives, but she is left in a permanent vegetative state and Sidwell caught the entire horrific event on camera? We know Sonny has struggled with his mental health and bipolar disorder in the past. The guilt of this alone could trigger a massive psychological spiral. But add a blackmail element to it and it becomes truly terrifying. Imagine this nightmare scenario. Sidwell, anticipating the bombing, sets up hidden high-definition cameras all around the perimeter of the warehouse. He records Sonny standing in the distance, holding the detonator and pushing the button. He records the massive explosion. And then, most damning of all, he records Sonny running into the flames, screaming Justine's name, pulling her from the rubble, and essentially confessing his guilt to the empty night while frantically calling 911. Sidwell doesn't just want Sonny dead. Death is far too easy for a man like Jen Sidwell. He wants to absolutely own him. The most haunting possibility is that Sidwell uses this tape to turn the great, powerful, untouchable Sonny Corinthos into his personal, obedient puppet. If Sonny doesn't do exactly what Sidwell says, if he doesn't hand over his territory, launder his money, and use his resources to further Sidwell's criminal empire, Sidwell releases the tape to the FBI. Sonny would have to live every single day of his life knowing he physically destroyed the woman he cared about, and he has to serve the very man who tricked him into doing it. It would be the ultimate psychological destruction of Port Charles's biggest mob boss. He would be forced to dismantle his own family, betray his allies, and operate as a ghost of his former self, all to keep that tape from seeing the light of day. I have to admit, something about this whole situation feels incredibly hidden. The writers have clearly been laying the groundwork for a massive, seismic shift in Port Charles, and this explosive trap could be the exact catalyst that changes the landscape forever. But we can't be 100% sure yet. Is Justine really a tragic victim, or is she part of a much larger, darker conspiracy involving the WSB? Will Sonny actually pull the trigger, or will someone like Jason or Carly figure it out and stop him at the absolute last millisecond? The rumor mill is spinning completely out of control right now, and while some of these details might just be wild speculation, there is no denying that a massive storm is coming for Sonny Corinthos. It could be true. It could be a massive misdirection orchestrated by the network to keep us guessing. But one thing is for absolutely certain. There is a whole lot more to this story that hasn't been told yet, and we are all just waiting for the match to be struck. Keep your eyes peeled, guys, because the fallout from this is going to be absolutely legendary.
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.